Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is, of course, Conversations with Chris and Cameron. This is a podcast as we previously discussed. We're going to do about, 2 to 3 a week, just about 5 to 10 minute, episodes, whether it be episodes or not, just talking about certain topics or subjects. And tonight we're talking about, the whole Taylen Kinney situation that all happened today that first, got brought up by Big Blue Buddy, and then of course or not Jack Pilgrim, but Jacob Pilacheck, and then of course Jeff Goodman all talked about today. But it's been, the big news here in Lexington, and of course Louisville, right, Cameron?
Oh yeah, big time. I didn't really believe it at first. Like when you first sent it, I was like, "Oh, right, like whatever." Like that definitely didn't happen. But I mean, it was a little too specific of like a rumor to kind of be like, "All right, there's no way it didn't happen," because like I don't know, they were scheduled around the same time where it was like, "All right, both the coaches getting in there around the same time." Like, but I did not believe it at first. But then all the sources confirmed with different people. So I mean, yeah, I guess it was true. It was definitely the talk of the town today for sure.
Yeah, and you would think it would have been able to come out earlier because, their visits happened like the first week of September, and we're right now recording this podcast or episode at, September 18th, and of course tomorrow will be September 19th, and that's whenever, this topic will be covered, but you would think it would come out, immediately afterwards, at least within the week, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, you would think so, with being two of the biggest head coaches named in the sport, and then two of the biggest brands in college basketball, especially with a recruit of that level too. Like, I don't know how it didn't come out. That's also why I thought it was fake. I was like, "There's no way it's just coming out like now." Like, that definitely would have come out before. But man, yeah, it was able to be kept under the rug for a little bit, but now it's been confirmed, and
Mhm.
what a wild time.
Yeah, and if you didn't know about the whole situation or topic, but we're talking about basically what happened was Mark Pope was supposed to visit Taylen Kinney at midnight, and he was scheduled to, talk to him from 12 o'clock to 12:10, 12:15, and then Pat Kelsey was supposed to talk to Taylen Kinney from 12:15 to 12:30, like 15-minute sessions, which isn't long for a coach, but, it's still an in-house visit, and that's what counts. But basically, what happened was Mark Pope was supposed to be there, at midnight, and the whole problem situation was Mark Pope, I believe, got there right at midnight, and he saw that Pat Kelsey and his assistant coaches were already, in there, talking to Taylor Kinney, recruiting him, and basically what from Jeff Goodman brought up, he thought that Mark Pope thought that Pat Kelsey was, in there before midnight, which would be, against the recruiting violations. You can't do that because after midnight you could start recruiting, a specific recruit. But basically, that's what the whole dilemma was. Mark Pope thought Pat Kelsey was in there before midnight.
Yeah, I didn't even really get to see a whole lot about what Goodman said. I saw Poachek. We had talked about that a little bit, but yeah, no, it's definitely wild. It's shocking, but I mean, I guess it's a reality thing of like where most of the fan base does view Mark Pope as like an angel, where he's like, no, there's no wrong. Like he would definitely never get mad at anybody. But like you said, that's against like the it's a violation where he's going out of line with when it was supposed to happen. So
Yeah,
um
if it did happen like that, if
yeah, if it did happen like that. So, um, yeah, I did not see that. I'll have to check out what Jeff Goodman and all them had to say because I'm sure they, like you said, they have some scoop on it. But yeah, just from what Poachek put out, there's definitely some animosity there, and I mean it for good reason. I do think like I'm kind of on the fence of like Pope probably shouldn't have been late, but maybe there was something that caused him to be late. Maybe there was a delayed flight or just something happened
yeah.
in between, and maybe PK should have minded his own business and like stayed in his time, let Pope get there and figure it all out. And then if at 12:15 Pope hasn't been there yet, then go ahead and do your visit because
Yeah,
that's your time. But
yeah.
it's definitely crazy.
What I gather from it, I believe what happened was, Mark Pope wasn't probably, in his driveway right at, 11:57 or 11:58, and Pat Kelsey was like, "Hey, Mark Pope isn't here, might as well, start our visit and everything," and that's why probably Mark Pope got so mad and upset at Pat Kelsey.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. I mean, yeah, I would be very mad about that as well. The one thing I saw some people on the line kind of just being like, well, I mean, neither of them were going to land him anyways or something. At that time, it was definitely still. I don't think Kentucky fans felt super confident, but I think Louisville fans at that point were still very, very confident. So,
Mhm.
um, hey, maybe PK going out of the line ended up making TK switch things up a little bit. Maybe he was like, I don't want to play for a coach that's going to go out of line like this and kind of mess it up. I don't really know, but
Yeah.
it's a crazy scenario where our coaches that I mean,
Mhm.
Jeff Goodman's talked about it. Numerous people have talked about it. It's a wild time where the Kentucky and Louisville coach don't have any problem with each other, and
Yeah.
now we finally have something. It feels right though. Like this
Yeah.
can't be a friendly rivalry. It can't be Denny Crum and Joe B. These
Mhm.
guys are going against each other. They got to hate each other.
Yeah.
So if this started it, that's perfectly fine with me.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited about that, and I really don't think there was really a fight, but there were definitely probably worth exchange between the two because of course with Jacob Polishek reporting, then of course Jeff Goodman, but we won't really ever know the true story unless of course you ask Mark Pope or Pat Kelsey, and who knows even if they tell you the truth, if you even ask them, be like, you know, what happened, off the record. And then, of course, if you ask them off the record and then you spill the beans, then you probably won't
Yeah.
have access to either of them.
We'd probably have to just ask TK. Like he'd probably be the one that's probably going to end up at Kansas. So it's probably not going to really either matter either way which one he if he was to say something bad about one of them. We'd probably have to talk to him or just someone like that. But I would imagine Pope probably if it ends up being kind of what's been put out. I would say Pope probably rolled up a little late. PK's in there or whatever, and he's like, "Hey man, like Pope probably very nicely, with a lot of respect, walked up and he's like, "Hey, I'm supposed to be. This is still in my time. Like, why don't you wait your turn?" And PK, with his little man syndrome, probably got a little ticked off. And he's like, "Look, man, why don't you get here on time? Like, whatever." So I would say PK's probably got a little bit of the little man syndrome and wanted to take a fight or take a punch at the big dog, but probably didn't land. I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, the short man syndrome, man. Like you were discussing earlier, like maybe it was a turnoff. Maybe Mark Pope did this on purpose, to make sure Taylen Kinney would not end up at Louisville and he would end up at Kansas instead because, you never want to lose a recruit to an in-state rival with Louisville. And, if Taylen Kinney does go to Kansas, and of course, the rumor is he's expected to make 4 million, at Kansas. And if that number is true, like that's insane. Like, if you gave me 4 million, I'm going wherever you want me to. If you want me to go to like China, I'm going to China. Give me 4 million, for 1 year.
Yeah, I am curious, kind of how this whole Pat Kelsey whiff ended up happening because you got an in-state kid, you got an Adidas kid. Like, how in the world did you let this like slip? Like, I don't understand. Like, if there was I know, I don't. It's hard to kind of compare it, but I just feel like I think that's more of like if Jasper slipped out of us. Like I think that's kind of he's obviously not from Louisville, but like the connection that he already had with the city and like it's just it's a bad miss for Louisville. It's a big time whiff for PK where it felt like he had it in his pocket and then he slipped out last minute. But like you said, Kansas is going to give him a little hefty check, but don't count out Arkansas yet. I mean, we've seen Cal like scoop in and then take a guy last minute, so I wouldn't count out Arkansas for sure.
Yeah, 6'7", as
Yeah, he
John,
did do the 6'7". That was crazy. That was
yeah.
wild.
Of course, Taylor Kinney and like John Calipari UK fans were making fun of Louisville, saying they were doing the L's down. Of course,
It did look like it.
it did
It
look like
did.
it, but
It looked like
yeah.
TK was definitely doing the L's down.
Yeah, it looked like he was definitely doing the L stand, but of course, what they were doing was really the 6'7". But yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see where, Taylor Kinney does go. I think like everybody has been talking about Kansas is the favorites, and at this time I expect him to go there, be a Jayhawk, and not be a Cardinal or sadly a Wildcat. Of course, I would love to get Taylor Kinney at Kentucky, but I don't think that will be happening, anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be getting him sadly, but I mean, me and you have talked about it. Even when both these guys were still kind of on the table and weren't necessarily leaning anywhere, I think we would rather have Rippy. That was kind of our
Yeah.
take a couple months back, and now that's still definitely the take.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I just find it so crazy because Louisville fans were both talking about, hey, we're both going to get Taylor Kinney and Tyron Stokes, at Louisville. And, they might not end up with either, sadly. For
That would be ideal. But yeah, like you said earlier, with the Pope would definitely rather see, and I think all Kentucky fans would rather see TK at Kansas. Maybe there's one insane fan that probably has some weird rivalry with Kansas, or maybe they live in Kansas. I don't really know, but um, yeah, definitely make sure he doesn't end up at the other school, the one down 64. We got to make sure of that.
Yeah, definitely for sure. But I don't think we have anything more to add. Like I said, we're going to do at least, we're hoping to do 2 to 3 segments of these, talking about 5 to 10 segments of, special topics. And of course, we talked earlier this week about, Otego Way with his, turf toe injury. And then, of course, now we're talking about um, Taylor Kinney potentially going to Kansas. And then, of course, the rivalry between Mark Pope and Pat Kelsey. But we hope you enjoyed just these 5 to 10 segments that we're doing now weekly.
Yeah, yeah, it was fun. I mean, it's good for the rivalry, like we said, the little fight. But before we get out of here, though, since we're already dunking on Louisville a little bit, I would be lying if I said that I really understood the sport of volleyball. But our girls did go to number 3 Louisville tonight and beat them in
Yeah.
the Yum Center, so we got to highlight that a little bit.
Yeah, congrats to the UK volleyball team, of course, defeating Louisville, first time since 2019. So that was amazing. And I remember whenever I was at WKU, like my first 2 years, I would try to go to all the sporting events, whether it be basketball, volleyball, football, soccer, whatever you name it, and, whenever I got to, WKU, I was like, wow, I'm a big fan of volleyball just because of how competitive and how fast it is. And, congrats to the UK volleyball team for defeating Louisville first time since 2019. And that's like an exciting moment for sure.
Yeah, the volleyball team, like you said, I do enjoy watching it in person. I don't think I'll ever actually be very good at it. I've played it quite a bit, and I've never been too good. But like you said, it is a fun sport though. Like when you get to watch it, you get to watch it in person. You really get to understand like how incredible these athletes are. But
Yeah.
what a big win! I mean, I know this. I don't have the schedule memorized, but this Kentucky team's played an insane gauntlet so far. I know the Nebraska game a few weeks ago was like the most streamed volleyball game of all time. So
They,
they've played a gauntlet so far. They end up winning the big one tonight.
yeah, Penn State too, they played
Yeah.
against. Yeah, no.
Played Pitt, I think, already. That's like top
Yeah,
10.
but yeah, they sadly lost that game. They got
Yeah.
swept. So
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
good.
They've played an insane schedule.
Yeah, they definitely do. I mean, like that's why I want for all UK sports. Like I would love for our football team to start doing that, but sadly we're about to go to a 9 game schedule. The schedule will be released on Tuesday, so we'll see who the 3 permanent opponents are for UK come Tuesday. But that's why I want for all sports for UK for sure, just to have all competitive opponents.
Yeah. I don't really know how much harder football can get, though. Obviously, we could take out the Eastern Michigan, Toledo, and Tennessee Tech, but like,
Yeah.
I don't know how much harder we can make it, though, because we every single year it feels like we go in and it's like a top 5 hardest schedule in the country. Every single year it feels like.
Yeah, you're right about that. But yeah, we're going to end the, episode tonight. We're just try to do 2 or 3 segments, 5 to 10 minutes, and then of course, 2 podcasts a week. But hopefully you all enjoy this and like hopefully, the rivalry continues to grow with Kentucky and Louisville as well.
Yeah, can't have them being too buddy buddy the whole time. We gotta
Yeah.
now hindsight. I want to see if Pope does have a little jab to throw at PK on the whole scheduling thing because he didn't want to step on his toes too much when he got asked about the Louisville game being so early. And right now he might have a little animosity and be like, yeah, it's all his fault.
I still can't believe it's so early. It's November 11th, if you all don't know, but yeah, so early into the season.
Way too early. It should never be before the football game.
Yeah,
That's criminal.
I agree with you on that. Like before, it's either gotta be like right before Christmas or like right after Christmas, in between like Christmas and New Year's, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. It was always a good Christmas present just to add a little Kentucky beating Louisville as a little bow on all the presents for Christmas.
Else down.
Always,
Yeah.
always else down.
Hopefully UK can defeat Louisville though this year in the KFC Young Center. We'll see. But thank you all for watching tonight. And of course, if you don't watch it tonight, this week, this weekend, but we appreciate the support on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Yeah, appreciate all the support. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in.
All right. Have a great night and great weekend, everybody. Peace out.
See y'all.